Okay, sorry I'm a little bit late hitting the two. I'm only 4 minutes. That's all right. That's nothing. Okay, so I wanted to talk about co-impact sourcing. So co-impact sourcing is one of the reasons that I actually joined with Doterra. Well, no, I joined because I needed some oils, but one of the reasons that I embraced Doterra was the whole co-impact sourcing not module, but the fact that they do this co-impact sourcing. And so I will talk to you a little bit about it. And I had planned to actually put the link up, but I will make sure that the link goes up for you. I just had a visitor, sorry. It's kind of nice, but anyway. Okay, so co-impact sourcing, it is, I think I put in the little bio as you were coming into today, I put that where you get your oils from is as important as the quality of your oils and how they are produced and things. So what I love about the co-impact sourcing is that doTERRA have actually created or maintained or look after all the farmers. Now, if you give me a second, I will find the graphic for you because the graphic is beautiful. Oh, I think where are we? Let me find the graphic because it has a whole lot of info on it, and I will here we go. Right, it's in here. Where are we? Okay, let me just there it is there. Hopefully, what's that one? Okay, so co-impact sourcing. When I was with my original company years and years ago, one of the things that Maggie really, really pushed and taught us was how important it was that your oils came from a reputable source, okay, and that they came from the best place or the best growing possibility for those particular oils. So, for example, frankincense does grow better in Somalia because the weather conditions are right, the soil conditions are right. Everything about Somalia is right to give us the maximum quality or the best quality oil that we can find. So you can imagine that if we were to try and grow frankincense out here, for one thing, they would be new trees. They wouldn't be big mature trees like what we have in South Africa. So it is really important that we use a good quality oil, a good quality source that way. So the oil itself comes from Somalia. Doesn't come from a frankincense tree in Australia. It comes from Somalia because, where did my picture go? Okay, sorry, I'm still trying. I'm trying to get the picture up for you. It's over here. Oh. Okay, I will be more organised next time. Now, okay, share screen. That's what I want to do. I want to get the picture up. Okay, found it. Here we go. This is what I was looking for. Okay, so you can see that the oils themselves come from all over the world. Okay, so we do have quite a few that come from Australia, so that's nice. And there are oils that we are quite familiar with, so the eucalyptus and the melaleuca. Now, Australia, okay, do you mind? Can you leave, please, while I do this? Then stop. Okay, sorry, homeschooling. Kids are at home again. They're not at school today, so, okay. Adeline, I am live. Do you mind? Can you please go and just let me finish this so that the whole world doesn't have your stuff. Don't jiggle that because it puts me off. Okay, just go for a minute. Okay, sorry about that. Just she had a fight with the dad. It's all my fault, obviously. Anyway, so now, okay, Australia isn't a third world country. Australia is quite a good country in that regard, but we do have the right conditions for our native plants, and that's why eucalyptus and tea tree come from Australia. Okay, frankincense, like I said, it doesn't grow in Australia. It is the wrong conditions. It needs to grow in Somalia. Now, when we look at things like the price of oils, the difference between things like frankincense and lavender, okay, there is a vast difference in the price of those two oils. Now, if you see them and they're like the same price, then what are they selling you? Because lavender comes from fields of lavender. Okay, so in Tasmania, if you've ever been down there and seen the fields of lavender, it's just purple for kilometres. Okay, they actually harvest that and get a lot of oil out of the entire plant. So lavender gives us lots and lots of oil. So it's not a mega expensive oil to get because it does grow. It grows in France. It grows in different areas. And there are different types of lavender. So some of the rarer lavenders are going to cost you more, but a good lavender is a reasonable priced oil. Okay. Now, once they crop it, they yield a lot of oil out of your out of lavender. So it is a lot cheaper to get than a frankincense. Frankincense with the trees, these trees have been growing in Somalia for centuries. Okay, we all heard about them. They're in the Bible, they're biblical, they've been around for a long, long time. Now, with the trees in Somalia, what happens is it's a skill that gets passed down from generation to generation, from the harvester to the next generation. He teaches the apprentice, and they do it that way. And if they tap the tree too much, the tree will die, or it won't produce the right quality of oil. So there's a real art form in getting frankincense from the tree, because frankincense is a resin. Okay, so they actually have to tap the tree, the resin leaks out, and they have to collect the resin. So that in itself is a much bigger process than cutting down the lavender field and, with the harvester and picking it up and putting it in the still. So very, very different processes. So the pricing is very different. I remember watching a video years ago about getting sandalwood from East Indian East Indian sandalwood, and the tree itself is so valuable. The timber is so valuable that the black market was huge, and people would often steal the tree. They actually had to put a lot of checks and balances in place so that they still had trees, basically, because they were going to lose the trees. Like, they would have lost an entire industry and a historical sort of tree. So they actually had to start numbering every single tree. Every single sandalwood tree in East India had a number, and it had to be recorded, and everything about that tree was then recorded to help stop the trafficking, the black market of the sandalwood. So then when they chopped the tree down, they would chop it up to put it into the truck to take it to the still, but they would have to number every single piece of that tree. And when they got to the mill, instead of just tipping the truck out and putting it in the still or processing it, they actually had to put the tree back together to make sure that the entire tree got there, that it wasn't half the tree didn't go missing off the back of the truck. So they actually had to do that. So there were a lot more checks and balances in getting that out of there. Now, part of that was the protection of the country, the protection of one of its biggest assets, and knowing that, that information I was given that 20 years ago, I can still get East Indian sandalwood, where 20 years ago, if the industry had continued the way it had, there'd be no trees left. Okay, and those trees take years to grow to get the sandalwood. So it's not a matter of just replanting the lavender every season, which, lavender only takes one season. Sandalwood takes a lot more. So again, sandalwood is not one of the cheaper oils, and it's actually like we have it, but it's in a tiny little bottle. So with doTERRA, their co-impact sourcing contracts actually go in and they talk to the villages and the people and the farms, and they get these sourcing agreements in place that look after the plant, that look after the tree, that look after the village. And, they do it with a reason, because, they know that next year they're going to be able to get their sandalwood. They know that next year or in 5 years' time, even with their projected sales, they know that they have access to the oils that they need, because they are protecting themselves. But by protecting themselves, they are also then looking after villages and things. When I first started with doTERRA, there was 2 co-impacting stories that really got to me, and one of them was about an oil called Melissa. Now, I actually have a bottle of Melissa. It's not the most pleasant oil, but it does a lot of really good healing things, and it's in lots of blends, and it's not one that you would use by itself, but in the blends it is quite amazing. Now, about 6 years ago, you couldn't get Melissa, because basically where Melissa grows the best had been taken advantage of, and all the plant was pretty much gone. There wasn't a great deal left, and what was left was in poor state, and you weren't getting the quality of oil that you wanted from it. And so it was it really wasn't available. Anyway, doTERRA wanted Melissa, so they went and they found where it grows the best. They found where they could get the best Melissa they could, and they then started to connect with the people there and find out what they needed, find out how they sourced it, why there was not much plant left now, and how they could change that so that it would become an oil that was available. So when I first started with doTERRA, Melissa was available once a year, one little bottle for each consultant. So you couldn't even buy 2, and you couldn't buy one for your mum unless she had her own account, because it was only available to 2 consultants once a year, one bottle only. Anyway, they worked with the village. They've increased the crops. They've looked at ways of increasing how much they can get from it. They've built schools, they've built hospitals, they've done things like that in these areas so that the villagers themselves are better looked after and in better health and not as susceptible to being ripped off again. And now anyone can buy Melissa anytime, as much as you want. Saying that, it's in a 5 ml bottle and it's $166. So you're not going to go crazy with it, but the fact is it's available. 4 years ago, it wasn't available. So it's really good to see that they've done that. Back to frankincense, when they tap the trees, traditionally, every couple of years, the trees would get a break. They would give them a year off. Anyway, frankincense now is into that cycle where the trees can have a year off. So what doTERRA did to be able to do that was, a couple of years ago, they started the process, the negotiation, and they stockpiled a little bit of frankincense so that they could literally tell the growers, we will continue, but you have to stop, like just give the trees a year off. So last year, all the frankincense trees had a year off. Okay, but the village and the people and the suppliers and things were all taken care of, and it's now still available. We can all get frankincense. So it was a really nice story. The other thing that happened when I first joined doTERRA was the earthquakes hit Haiti, and Haiti is where we get vetiver from. Now, over there, they had just finished a hospital Okay, they'd just finished building a hospital for the surrounding area, and the earthquakes hit, and there was problems. Everything was dirty and needed fixing and whatever. And if you go into the Doterra impacting stories, you'll actually see, like, one of the founders, Emily Wright, in her gumboots in Haiti the day after the earthquake, just helping, like boots in, getting in and helping clean up. So not just looking after the crop, but looking after the people and rebuilding the hospital and doing those things. So it is quite amazing. Now, I did have, whilst I was talking there, I'm going to have to come back because I had another thought that I wanted to share with you, but that's okay because it turns out I've got all day to come back and talk to you. So what I do need to do is write it down when I get that thought. It will come back to me what it was. So it's all good. Now, let me just check the comments there because I've had a few people comment. Yeah, that's okay. It's Sam has mentioned here that it's interesting that it makes sense why oil should be different prices. And it really does. You look at orange oil, for example, and orange oil, if you scratch the peel of an orange, you've got orange oil. That's what it is. So it's that zest that you put in your cooking. And if you look at how many litres of orange juice are produced every single day, kind of makes sense that orange oil is relatively cheap because it's literally a byproduct. It's waste. So it's saving the waste and using it and getting the oil out of that one. So orange oil is probably one of the cheapest oils available. Now, bergamot is an orange as well, but it grows best in Italy, on the Calabrian coast of Italy. And bergamot is a tiny orange type fruit that is really bitter and evidently quite yuck to eat. So you wouldn't peel it and eat it like you do an orange, but the oil in the skin is divine. And so we use the oil and we get it from the Calabrian coast, and it's smaller, there's not as much. It doesn't yield as much, and Earl Grey tea. The tea companies want it because it's the main ingredient of Earl Grey tea as well. So bergamot is a little bit more expensive than orange oil, mainly because of where it grows, how it grows, and how much is yielded. So it really does make a difference to the oils as to where they come from and the quality of them. Now, Doterra test all their oils, so everything gets tested. Now, they test it for a few things, and one of the things that they test it for is that the oil, I've remembered what I was going to say. Good. I'm going to write it down now while I think about it so that I remember to tell you this, because I'm going to finish telling you about the testing of the oils. So they test them for all sorts of things. Now, one of the tests that they do on oils is a gas chromatogram. And the gas chromatogram measures all the individual chemical components of an essential oil. Because like everything, an essential oil is a combination of chemicals that together create orange oil or frankincense or cedarwood or whatever it is that we're looking at. And so when they measure the chemical constituents of the oil, what they get is a graph, a bit like, the heart machine, where it has like the highs and it's got all the little ones and it's got peaks and things. And all those peaks are measured and are correlated against the chemical that they form. So an oil that has off the top of my head, I have not even, wait, I can tell you because I've got my book sitting here. So I will give you a perfect example of what I was about to say. Okay, so for example, oregano, its top oil is carvaricol. Okay, now that constituent is the bacterial one. That's why it works like an antibiotic, because that chemical is the major constituent in it. So when I make a blend up, if I use other oils that have a little bit of that chemical in it, they're going to work. They're going to do it. They're going to do the job. They're going to fight that bacteria for me to a point. But if I add a drop of oregano to it, not only do I have that constituent from the other plants, but now I've got the rest of it, and it's quite large. Now, when they do the gas chromatogram, what they need to check is the levels of that constituent, of that chemical. So if the standard is, that it's got to have 50 to 60% of that constituent, and it falls in at 48, well, what happens is they can still sell that oil, 100%. They can sell that oil as pure essential oil, but you're not going to get the antibacterial properties that you're expecting. It'll still smell like oregano, and it will still be pure oregano, but it won't do what you expect it to do. So if you're looking at oils for healing and for what they do, then you really do need to know that those oils have been tested, and that they are aromatherapy grade, and that they are what they tell you they are. Now, because the pharmaceutical companies and the chemists and whatever can pretty much replicate all the chemicals that we know, if, say, for example, a thing of oregano was a little bit low and it was only 48 and it needed to be 60, they could put some synthetic of that carvaricol into the oregano, which would then give it the right reading. It would still be oregano. They could still market it as pure, as essential oil, but it has been adulterated. It's been given some stuff. So whenever they're adulterated, there is always some sort of marker within that so that the chemists know that it's been adulterated. They can actually prove whether or not it's been adulterated. So every batch of oil that Doterra go through vigorous amounts of testing, and one of those tests is the gas chromatogram. The other one is to check for all those markers to make sure that what the supplier has given them is exactly what they've got, that it is pure essential oil, that there is no adulteration to it. It also picks up on things like the insecticides and all those sort of things. So they double check, like all the oils are checked so that they know that there's none of those things in it. Now, the thing that I thought about before kind of goes along those lines. It's about the quality. It's about what they can call oils. Okay, so I remember years ago that being organic was like the ultimate, and your oils had to be organic, and it had to be. Well, organic just means that it's from the earth. Okay, so your oils are from the earth. Organic can quite often mean, well, okay, petrol, for example, is organic because it comes from the stuff in the ground. Okay, so some of the components of petrol are organic. Doesn't mean that I want to use them on my skin. Okay, I'd much rather have a tree that I knew was clean and insecticide free and that was grown, that wasn't necessarily organic. That I would feel more comfortable using than, some of the other products that are classified organic, where when you look up the definition of organic, it isn't necessarily pure and awesome. Okay, now back to sort of the price of oils, okay, or what they can call things in a bottle. Okay, so in a bottle, it can be pure essential oil. Now, it's really, really important when you're looking at using your oils for healing and skincare and, on your body, that what you've got is pure essential oil. And not just pure, but first distillation pure. Okay, so by first distillation, it implies that they can actually distill that material more than once, which they can. And even when it's distilled like 3 times, even though it's exactly the same material that they've distilled, you're not getting the same essential oils. And my example is the tea bag. Okay, now I don't drink tea, and I'm pretty sure coffee would be much the same. I use pod coffee, and it would be the same story. So the first time that I do it, right, with my fresh tea bag and the hot water, and I dip it in, and I like let it seep, and I get the quality of the tea, and I take my tea bag out. My tea is good. Okay, my tea bag is fine. And if I put it on the windowsill and let it dry out and I use it again tomorrow, you would think possibly that you're going to get exactly the same thing because it was exactly the same tea bag. It's still got exactly the same thing in it. Nothing has changed except that the first lot of goodness has been seeped out. So the second day that you do that, you still have pure tea. It's not the same though. It doesn't taste as good as yesterday's, and your oils are the same. A second distillation, which is still 100% pure essential oil, is not going to give you the same healing qualities as a first distillation. Okay, now if you do that tea bag third day, fourth day, can imagine by the fourth day that it's still going to taste like something, but it's going to be so far removed from what you had the first day that you wouldn't do it. Okay. And to be honest, I actually don't know anybody that recycles their tea bags that way. But it is a perfect example of what can be done with the raw material. So the sandalwood tree, if they distill the sandalwood tree, they macerate it, they do everything they need and get the oil out of it, okay, they can still then use that and do it again. Okay, but the next day you're not going to get the same quality out of it. Same with your lavender, with any of your oils. You will not get the same quality if you run the exact same process on the exact same product. You're not going to get the same result. And so it is really, really important that your essential oils are pure essential oil, that they are first distillation, that they are the best quality oil that you can get from the place that grows that oil the best. Okay, so that is this afternoon, the 3 o'clock tip of what to look for in your oils, and just some ideas for you, just to get you thinking about some of the things. I don't see it quite so much now, probably because I really don't go looking, but I remember years ago you could buy, oils in all your reject shops, all your, those hippie shops, all those sort of places. And my first mentor, one of the very first things that she sort of said to us is, if you see them all on the shelf and they're all $6, question it. Like, there's no way that rose oil can be $6 the same as orange oil. There's no way that what you have is natural and tested and first distillation and best quality. There's no way. There is 100% possibility that a chemist has sat there and said, well, it's got that chemical, that chemical, that chemical. I can put those in a bottle together and put in a bottle together and give you a fragrant oil. So a fragrant one or a synthetic one is very, very different, and your body will react differently. Okay, I know with synthetics that they often give me a headache. I don't get that with pure essential oil because my body understands the pure essential oil. My body reacts much better to a pure essential oil than what it does to a synthetic. So, if you do find that, if you've used lavender before and you could I've had a few people sort of say to me, oh, I've used oils before, they stunk and they gave me a headache and whatever. I'm going to guarantee that you were using a fragrant oil, that you were using an oil that wasn't a pure essential oil. Don't get me wrong, you will still react to some of the oils. One of my friends, Susie, she's in my team. Susie can't use peppermint. So that's fine. She can't use peppermint. I'm not a big fan of peppermint, but I actually am getting used to using the doTERRA one. It's not making me feel sick like the old toothpaste used to, whatever was in that. But my mum is allergic to jasmine the plant. So you know what? We don't give her jasmine the oil. It kind of just makes sense not to give her the oil that comes out of a plant that she's allergic to. So yeah, if you do have an issue with the particular plant in the garden and you know that you can't go near it, then don't use that oil. But don't discount oils based on prior experience. Okay, like I said, if you've used lavender before and you didn't like it, then please give lavender another go, because it is an amazing oil. And you know, if it did affect you or you did have an issue with it, then there is a chance that it wasn't as pure as it could be. Just thinking, there is one other thing. I'm going to talk to you about your olfactory system. And I know that's a long way from co-impact sourcing. So what I will do, here we go. Whilst I'm here, we'll just change that one and put it up and tell you about your olfactory system. So your olfactory system is this word here. Helps if I can spell. An extra A in it. Okay, that's it. Okay, so your olfactory system. This sort of came to me just now as I was talking about lavender and people's memories and using oils previously that now sort of don't serve you, or you actually have a memory of that particular oil. So lavender has been used forever and ever. So when you smell lavender, your body will react because it knows that smell. Okay. Now, some people have really, really positive memories of lavender, and some people have not so positive memories of lavender. So what happens with your body when you smell something is that it goes through your olfactory system. And I know we've heard about the limbic brain. We've heard about the fight and flight response. We hear about all sorts of things. A couple of weeks ago, I saw this diagram or this being used as an example of the brain. Okay, and so this is the front part of the brain where your immediate reactions are, where you walk into well, no, you don't walk into a room and remember half the time. I forget why I walked into a room. But this is where the memories or the info that you're using right now is stored. Okay, this bit here is your limbic brain. So your limbic brain positionally in your body. Maggie told us 6 years ago, if you put your finger up your nose and you can't go any further, your limbic brain is positioned just behind that bone there, and that's where your olfactory system is. And your olfactory system is like the connector of the brain of your responses with everything else that's happening in your brain. So with the storage part of your brain, which is the back part, and that's this part here. So when our brain is being used, when we smell things, we smell it, and our limbic brain or our olfactory system registers it, and from that it connects what we're doing with what we can smell. Okay, so if we smell lavender and we've got really negative memories about it, the negative memories that are stored in the back part of our brain automatically hit the front part of our brain, and we go, stop, not going there. Okay. If the memories are really good, then they will connect, and the front part of the brain goes, yes, let's do this. And it will keep going, and it doesn't go into shock. Okay. So what happens with memories like that is, if you did, I don't know, if you went to grandma's house and grandma was awesome and loving and wonderful, and you always, could smell the lavender on her clothes or in the bedding or whatever, then you're going to smell lavender and be taken straight back to that feeling inside. If your feeling was the opposite, then you're going to have the opposite feeling, and it's not going to be as pleasant. So it's your olfactory system is quite amazing when it comes to memory. Now, your olfactory system does lots of things. Sorry, my phone's buzzing at me. it remembers a whole connects a lot of memories. So if you're studying, for example, and you go into the exam and you go to, the first question is, what's your name? And, in most people, our first response is, like, we go into that panic. And that's because this part of the brain has gone on strike, okay? It's or gone into shock. So what we need to do is we need to access the limbic brain, which will then connect the front part and the back part, because all the knowledge is there. We know all the knowledge, we know our name. So it is there. So you'll see it, like you'll ask people and they'll kind of look at you for a second. And that's because that this part of their brain is just connecting the question to the memory so that it all connects. So the same happens with smells. So you will find, if the smell is there, that you instantly have memories attached to those smells. The other thing that it does is it registers those smells. So a dog, for example, has way, way more memories than, or not memories, but a much better it has a much better olfactory system. It has a more diverse, more fine. When we smell pizza, okay, for example, when we smell pizza, maybe we smell the ham and pineapple, but our first reaction is, oh, pizza. A dog smells pizza and goes, oh, ham, chicken, like whatever. He can literally pull apart all the parts of the pizza. And that's why dogs are used to sniff out drugs in your clothing, because the dog can actually get through the whole thing. We smell it, it smells like baggage. The dog smells it and he can smell your undies, he can smell your deodorant, he can smell your socks, he can smell all the different things that are in your bag. And that's why they use the dogs to get to smell out the drugs. So where I was sort of aiming with this is that quite often, once we register a smell, we don't have to keep going back to finding that smell. Okay, so last week when I was at Narelle, I had a few people say to me, is it strong? Am I going to be able to smell it all day? Well, if it's strong and you can smell it all day, I would be really worried about what you are diffusing, because it is irritating your nose the whole time and making you smell it. Okay. If it's a smell that your body recognizes and that your brain is comfortable with and that what you will find is you won't smell it all day. Okay. It will work all day, but you won't smell it all day. And to put that into perspective, if you walk out in your front yard and walk around your house, okay, are you smelling the timber, the paint, the windows, the windowsill, the curtains, the plant outside the kitchen, the plant outside the thing, the concrete, the pavers, the garden, the sky, the air? Are you smelling all those things every second that you are outside? Or do you walk outside and go, oh, fresh air? Your body recognizes it and you get on with it. Okay, so that's what happens with the oils in your diffuser. If your body recognizes it, or once your body's comfortable with it, it will be there and you won't register it every time. If you walk outside and come back in, you will smell it. Okay, or if you reset your nose, like smelling the coffee beans, then yeah, you will smell it again. But it's not something that you are going to register all day. So don't for 1 minute think that it's not working just because you can't smell it. Okay, you can't smell it because your body knows it. Your body trusts it. Okay, you'll find that your body has the same senses with people and with different things. Once your body knows it and trusts it, it's fine. Okay, there is a question there, or not a question, a statement said, there is a bone up your nose. Okay, well, it's kind of like, it's your skull. It's at the end of your nose, like your nose is here and behind your nose, there is a bone and there is your nose. Okay, so the bone at the back. So like I said, if you've stuck your finger up far enough and it doesn't go any further, it literally has hit a bone at the back and your olfactory system is behind that bone. Okay, and somebody else had this exact same conversation with somebody yesterday over apple juice. And that's right. You hear the word and you go, ugh, because you've had one that was disgusting. If you actually try a different brand, you will have a different reaction because your body's reacting differently. I remember at a party once, so I used to do was party plan. So I did the oils via party plan years ago. And one of the oils we talked about was rosemary. And we all know that rosemary is for remembrance, and it gets used. But anyway, we went to talk about it, and a person in the room kind of shrunk and just was about to like leave. And we hadn't even opened the bottle, but just the word, the connotations of the word was so strong that their memory, their reaction was full on, like took them straight back to somewhere they didn't want to go. So, we put the oil away and got out something different so that they could stay and feel comfortable. But it's not just the smell, but the words. The words can have that reaction to us as well. But the smell is amazing. Like it is that memory reflux, that memory thing. It's like sound. We hear a record and we're back at in a specific location, and we can almost picture the people where we are there with and what we're doing. Well, smell works that way as well. So that's why if I smell corn silver side, I'm just like, bleh, I hate it. But there are other things that I smell that I'm like, oh my God, remember when? And you want to cook that or you want to make it or whatever. And your oils are the same. So anyway, that's enough rambling for now. I will no doubt think of something else to talk to you about next hour. See you later.